Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Muriel Bowser. We are at the beautiful Alice Deal Middle School, where we just welcomed the teachers and faculty and staff to their pre-service week. We're being hosted by the wonderful Principal Deidre Neal. Thank you, Principal Neal. And I also would like to acknowledge Matt Fruman, the council member for Ward 3. So we're going to welcome next Monday over 50,000 students to DC Public Schools, many more thousands of children to public schools across the District of Columbia next week. It is always my reminder to remember your speed, look out for our young people, to parents who are signing up. Make sure you're registered. It is a good time to check your registration and status and what your kids need to start school, and to reach out to us if you have any questions. We posted a back-to-school guide that talks about school itself, how to register out of school time, all of the nutrition resources available to our students as well. And now is a good time to check your transportation questions with your school officials as well. So with that, I will answer a few questions. Before I do that, I do want to say, on a personal note, I want to thank everybody for reaching out to our family with your well wishes, kindness, and prayers. It has meant a lot to our family. Any questions? Yes. Thank you.
To the city. So I want to talk about real quickly Council Member White's arrest on Sunday. It just came down that he's charged with allegations of taking bribes to push contracts with onesies and other departments. What was your initial reaction on Sunday when you heard about the arrest?
Well, I've been here, so I haven't been able to read anything that the courts have released. I understand from walking in here that the documents or indictment have been unsealed, and we will spend certainly time looking at it. And what I would say more than that is we have systems in place, we have laws in place, and it sounds like those systems are working in the right way. For any implications on the government, we of course will look at what happened or what the allegations are and then have something to say about it later. Yes?
Will the city launch its own investigation, or have you all launched an investigation?
I don't even, honestly, Michael, I don't know what the allegations are, but we will look at them and see how it implicates the government.
And can you confirm when you heard about White's arrest? This news came out yesterday.
I think I heard about it moments after it happened. Yes.
Can you just talk personally about this arrest and how it kind of reflects on the city at a time when you have a presidential candidate routinely attacking the city for various things, including what he calls mismanagement and whatnot. Well, can you just talk about just the overall, how this impacts the city?
Well, I think anytime you have an elected official that does something wrong or is accused of doing something wrong, people are going to have a lot of heartburn and serious questions and disappointment and anger and all of those things. But honestly, Mark, I can't say more until I know more. But when I say more, when I know more, we will definitely say if there's any impact on government operations, we'll be looking at what happened.
Do you know if any other DC government employees have been arrested?
I do not. Yes.
Peace and blessings, Mayor Bowser.
Thank you. Peace to you.
Yes, as far as the teacher turnover, will we happen to know how many teachers returned this year, like at Deal and across the school system? Let
me ask the chancellor to speak kind of macro of where we are with teacher hiring and retention, but we feel very good about the teachers that we've been able to attract and retain in DC Public Schools.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Sam, for that question. I don't have official numbers on any transitions for this coming school year yet. I do have numbers to report on teacher hiring. So as of last week, we had less than 100 vacancies across the district, which represent about 1 to 2% of our workforce. So excited that we are coming in this year better than we were last year in terms of the number of vacancies we have in preparation for the start of the school year. And of course, like years past, if there is a vacancy or a need for a substitute, we'll have the appropriate person in place for day one on Monday.
Okay, anybody who hasn't asked? Yes.
Mayor, just briefly, how troubling is it to have a city official arrested by the FBI?
Well, I mean, I could state the obvious, but so maybe I will. It's very troubling. It's very disappointed. I'm sure that constituents across the city, but especially in Ward 8, are very disappointed. People need representation. They need people that go down to the Wilson Building and put them first and fight for them. And I know that I speak for them in my disappointment about it. And I want to, anytime any part of the government is questioned in this way, it distracts from the very important work that has to be done. If we are talking about offices that are focused on keeping people out of harm's way, preventing violence, especially with our focus on alternatives to law enforcement strategies, which we're very committed to. This also puts those very effective strategies at risk. So individual decisions, and people will make some good ones, some terrible ones, but they have to be held accountable.
I've got a question about the 911 system.
Sure.
Would you agree that DC residents deserve more from its 911 call center? And do you still have confidence with its director?
I do. Yes.
Regarding that, do you think it's in crisis? Do you always see it's in crisis?
Yeah, I think that we have to continue to invest in our Office of Unified Communications. We have to continue to make sure that our staff there has what they need. And we have to be open and transparent about any disruptions to the service that we think that our residents expect. And that's certainly my expectation as well. And so I have been briefed by my team about the disruptions of the last 2 weeks and our efforts to correct them. And we will have more to say about whether there are technology investments and people investments that are needed, and we look forward to continuing on that path. 1 second. Yes.
In terms of the council's concerns, and I spoke to 2 lawmakers who said, Pinto and Muriel, who said they will be taking action this fall to try and further some things to address the issues at 911. Do you think they are on the right path?
I don't even know how can I say that?
Introduced in December.
Like what?
Like in Brianna Udo's case, for example, working with the fire, having the 911 response return to the fire department.
Well, that's not the feedback we get from fire and EMS. And so if the OUC was combined, I guess, in the early 2000s, and I wasn't around for that merger of the call functions, but I imagine it was some discussion like this in how do we get more efficient, better trained staff and personnel, and how do we deal with what we've been dealing with for the entire time that I've been mayor, is how do we have fewer 911 calls that are coming into our system for our residents to get the right care in the right place at the right time when they don't have an emergency. So when all of the emergency calls that are coming into the center are appropriately handled. Here's the bottom line. Our expectation is that when you call 911, someone answers, it's a competent person, and the dispatch is handled as quickly and safely as possible, and the right care arrives to get you the help that you need. That's our expectation, and that's what our leadership is held accountable for, and that's what all of our systems have to be doing in the right way to work on it. So there is nobody more focused on making sure, and any productive suggestions that the members of the council have, we're all ears. Yes.
Just two quick OUC and then one DOT department buildings.
Okay.
So on the OUC, what can you tell us, and what would you tell the residents? You know, the chief has acknowledged that there is at least one instance of an outage that is now being investigated by police for possible criminal activity. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us about that?
What I can tell you is what I told you in our conversation, Mark, that when I was briefed on the incident, and this is just how I approach things, if there is a critical piece of our infrastructure that's impacted that can be tied to the actions of one person, I want to make sure that there was no nefarious activity. So what I described to you and what I described to my team and the police is that MPD should question the employees involved, whether it was a single person or whether there were people who observed that activity, because I want to make sure that human error happens, let's just face it, and quite frankly, I think that's what we think it was. It was an error. But we have to be able, the director of OUC, of our technology office and MPD, to tell me it was human error.
And then also on OUC, the $800 bonuses. What do you say to other district government employees who don't get an $800 bonus simply for showing up for their scheduled shift?
Well, we have budgeted and discussed in other agencies, not just OUC, the need for incentives, whether it's in hiring or recruiting or retaining staff. And that is our approach at OUC, not only to have a signing bonus, but to have another type of bonus, a retention bonus.
And if I could ask you about the Deputy Director, Carolyn Leon, at Department of Buildings, who had a full-time job at Freddie Mac while on DC government time, and was serving as an elected official in Fairfax, the Falls Church during the same time. This went on for a couple of years. Somebody had to be signing her time cards. I assume her supervisor, she's the second in command. So, you know, how was this allowed? And what are you doing to figure out how was this allowed to go on for 2 years? We know there's a criminal investigation in Virginia related to this for her lack of disclosure over there. Is there also a criminal investigation going on in D.C.?
I don't know about that, Mark, but it certainly would seem that Kevin may know a little bit more about the disclosures and the things that we're looking at. I just don't have that information on the top of my mind. But certainly she couldn't be, I don't know how she would be working for us full-time and working someplace else full-time. Our tours of duty are during the day. Her tour of duty would have been during the day. I don't have the information on her commitments elsewhere.
By the investigation that was approved, I guess approved by...
I don't know what period of time you're talking about, Mark, but we have had a comeback to work that has ranged from 3 days in, 2 days telework, to now our current posture, which I think we put in place. When did that go in place? This year? I think this year we went from a 4 day a 4 day in, 1 day telework. Yes.
A couple questions for Mr. Hunter.
Yeah, sure. What's your question?
Sure. So with the asset acquisition deal likely to go through this evening between Friendship and Eagle Academy Prep, what, to your knowledge, are the nature of the conversations between EGS and Friendship about the acquisition of the Willow Road property?
Okay. Is that ours?
Yeah.
I don't know this is right.
Yeah, thanks for the question. For those that are unfamiliar with the circumstance, we have a small charter LEA called Eagle Academy that has experienced a significant drop in enrollment over the past 4 years and now does not appear able to meet its financial obligations. And so there is a process that is known as asset acquisition occurring within the charter sector where a separate LEA, Friendship Public Charter Schools, has put up its hand to offer to take over this small charter LEA. The Charter School Board is voting tonight to determine whether or not they will allow this to go forward. There are enrollment implications for Friendship, and to your question, there are building implications because Eagle is currently housed in a former, one of its 2 campuses is in a former DCPS school building. In these circumstances, Sam, as I think you know, if the charter is in good standing, they can transfer their lease to another tenant. We do this all the time in city government. In this particular case, we are unclear what action the charter board is going to take. You said they are likely to approve this. I am not certain about that. And so our posture is we're waiting to see what the charter school board does within its remit. We will then, of course, take a close look at the terms of the lease in this building to determine what, if any, action would be appropriate for DGS to take.
So in regards to the acquisition of the property, and this is a bigger question as it relates to DGS and buildings, what are the arrangements as far as the charters paying to be in these buildings during time? You know, to your knowledge.
Sure. The majority of our lease agreements with charter schools include the payment of rent to the district or in-kind improvements such as building renovations that defray the cost of rent on an annual basis.
So my understanding is that, and this is according to data that a DC resident collected over several years, that DGS has not been collecting that or documenting whether charter schools have been making those repairs.
Sure, that's not accurate. This has been audited by various entities, and our collection practices are very strong. I think the resident is referring to lease payments that may date 15 to 20 years ago. Of course, with our records retention, we don't keep records that long. I think the law stipulates we keep them at least 10, and we have documented payments during that period.
I got one more question for you, if you don't mind. Can you just give us an update as far as the facilities, upgrades, and repairs across the whole DC public school system?
Sure, it's an exciting time. In fact, we're standing in a new 23,000 square foot addition here at Alice Deal. There are 5 new schools that are modernized that are coming on board: Garfield in Ward 8, Whitlock and Old Minor in Ward 7, Dorothy Height in Ward 4, and Francis Stevens, in addition to significant work across the portfolio. Thanks to the mayor's investment, almost $10 million was allocated for summer or school readiness funding.
We need you to move your car. It will be towed at this time. Ms. Becker, please report to the loading dock at this time.
And this has allowed us to work with each of the principals, like Principal Neal, to prioritize those outstanding work orders. And this summer, we expect to close out close to 4,000. Of those 4,000, nearly 1,000 have been prioritized by DC Central staff and also principals at the school level. So we're really excited about our first day of school.
So you said 4,000, so you hope to close out. Just repeat that last part for me.
That's right. So nearly 4,000 work orders will be completed during our summer readiness efforts. Of those 4,000, over 1,000 were prioritized by DC Central staff and also school principals.
Hey, Mayor, for you again. The complaint against Councilmember White is that he used his position to pressure employees within the onesie office to award certain contracts. There hasn't been permanent leadership there since Linda Harley Harper tragically passed away. Could there have been a lack of oversight or needed scrutiny at that office considering the vacancy in
No,
leadership?
all of our seats in leadership have been filled since Linda's death. And our analysis of kind of our relationship with contractors has been nothing but increased since her death.
When did you appoint at one? Sorry, I might have missed that.
When did I what?
Appoint a new onesie director.
We have Quelly Sneed as the interim director.
Okay.
And she has been, I think, since Linda's passing.
Okay, but no new permanent head has been appointed.
No new permanent head, but it matters not because we have a director.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Would it be possible for us to ask Councilmember Bruno a question since he's here?
You can talk to Councilmember Fruman, but we're going to close out here unless you want to come up here to the, look, up to you. Yep, yep, yep.
Just wondering your thoughts on your colleague, Councilmember White. If you believe a council member who has now been indicted on bribery charges of trying to influence government contracts, DC urban contracts, would you vote to remove him from his council committees, his chairmanship? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so every single thing that I've learned about what the allegations are, I've learned while I've been standing here. So I'm not getting into the business of speculating about something until I've taken a very hard look at it. It's a tragic day for the district when somebody in a position like that is accused of something like this. It's a tragic day for Councilmember White. I want to look at the facts, figure out what's going on, and not be speculating based on the few snippets I've heard here today.
Can I ask you your confidence level in Director Gaffney and OUC to safely get their 911 calls?
So I've toured OUC a couple of different times, and I actually have a lot of confidence in Director McGaffin. I think that she is a seasoned professional and that she's doing the best that she can. I want to see how the council can support OUC and the administration going forward. We can't have situations like the situations we have, but I think everybody here actually is trying, and if we can be working together, we can do better, and that's part of what I want to be doing in the fall. Thank you.